Up the public hearing for additional appropriations here at 6 p.m. So having done so, do you have any questions from either the audience or the council regarding what has been presented for year ending 2023? And before we even get to that, I'd probably have to give you a little bit more context. Regarding the personal services for under general, that was if you guys recall, you approved the increase for fire and police after the budget had already been set. Mm-hmm. So a chunk of that is relegated to that line item. Supplies, and that's a reoccurring theme. Unfortunately, you're going to see in several categories. The price of supplies has increased substantially, and so that's had unfortunately a negative trickle-down effect. Capital outlays, of course, $450,000 is allotted for the fire truck, keeping in mind that we're in the process of selling the one that we had, so, but $450, that was attached to that line item in the budget. The fire truck itself was $400. I should clarify. What was the extra $50,000 in there for?
Well, we sold the truck for $450, but
we sold it.
Yeah, but but of that $450, which went into the general fund, I had to appropriate spending that $450 because we had to pay off the fire truck, which was $142,000, and then we bought a ladder truck, which was $125,000. And then because of the grant, which we don't know whether we're going to have to pay that grant back or not, that was another $181,000. I had to appropriate it in case they asked for that money before the end of the year.
Which unfortunately is still not to us.
So the $450,000 of that $877,000 we got back. I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you. There was $170,000 for the completion of the demolition for the 4 blighted properties. Obviously, we're still pursuing the performance bond to alleviate that. And then there was $85,000 for the housing bonds for the infrastructure that we did. And that, in addition to that, was $103,000 from MJ Excavating to complete the infrastructure, the streets, and what the additional service that was needed, Steve, was not the compaction, the
compaction tax.
It was the compaction.
Compaction was $144,000, I know.
Okay, so 103 was attached to that. The total for the local and street fund, we accidentally, well, no, I shouldn't say accidentally, it was just a quirky way things worked out with the CCMG grant that we applied for our streets paving. We actually had an extra cycle in 24. We only have one that we'll be applying for, or 23. We will only have one that we'll be applying for in 24, so we will even that out, if you will. Our budget for streets, basically paving, is set up for 2 rounds where we apply for that every year. We actually had 3 in 23. We'll do 1 in 24, and then back to 2 in 25, if that makes sense. For MVH, we had 1 additional hire, which is a large chunk for the personal services. And then in addition to that, we had under other services and charges, we had pool, well, it's a litany. We were $6,000 over budget on gasoline. We spent $10,000 over on waste disposal on dumpsters. We spent $23,000 on mowing abandoned properties, which we've got to address more feverishly in 23 or 24. And we also had $10,000 over in equipment repair. So, and then pool chemicals, they shot up. We were $3,200 over in pool chemicals. And then we spent additional, we purchased a Kubota that was to be used for both park and city. And so that was $7,000. So there's a number of chunks that attributed to the overage in the MVH. And the park, yeah, sorry, that takes care of the next two, thank you. The clerk, as you see, there's a recording system, the $8,000 for the clerks. And then edit was mostly city projects, which included the Hub City project, the building up there, reattaching the floor that was separated from the wall. Obviously, 84, wasn't it? 84,000 come back in a grant, but that's not reflected in obviously what was spent out of it. And then the police, or your low public safety, that was mostly wages and the police car. Again, we got a grant match for $50,000 in that, but that obviously does not reflect in the expenditure of the outlay. And the $800 lastly then was for the police dog. So despite the overage, it was actually about 100,000. What was it exactly?
In general, it's about, I'm estimating because I don't know for sure, but I'm estimating that we'll be somewhere around $2,300,000 in the general fund. And at the beginning of 2023, it was $2,418,000, so we'll be down about $118,000. So it's not quite as bad as you look at the additional appropriations of $114,000, but we'll really only be in the negative for this year.
Roughly 118.
Into the reserves, I guess, is how I would put it, $118,000.
Which again, I'm hoping that
I'm hoping it's better than that.
recoup next year.
Yeah.
So when you say into the reserves, like, what does that mean?
Well, it means at the beginning of this year, we started out with $2,418,000. So at the end of this year, we went up $2,300,000. And that's just estimates. I don't know exactly, but when I do the annual report, you'll know exactly.
Now that was just try to
And
give
that's just the general fund, though. The other funds are different.
Well, it was to try to give you an overview. So with that being said, do we have questions, comments? If not, I would hereby close the hearing at 6:08. And then at that point, if you would, please rise and, for the pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, oh, sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this year. It's been filled with a lot. It's been filled with challenges. It's been filled with ups and downs. It's been filled with tragedy and triumph. It's been filled with joy and sorrow. It's like any year I think any of us have ever experienced in our lives as humans. It's had a little bit of everything. But the good thing is we stand here on this December 11th and we've got this roof over our heads. We're surrounded with fellow citizens, with loved ones, with family. We have a community that we live in and that we get to do things in, and we get to know people, and we get to work, and we get to live. And you're God through all of it. You were on the throne when we started this year. You're on the throne as this year will come to a close, and you'll stay there. We will come and go, but we thank you that your word is eternal. And so, with that being said, help us to be the best stewards possible of everything you bless us with. It's not our own. And help us to be the way you would have us to be to one another, not just in this Christmas season, which seems to be easy to do, but every day thereafter, and that is to love one another, to be kind to one another, to give to one another, and to be an example of your love so that people outside this community will be drawn, not just to Union City, but most importantly to you. So we thank you for your guidance. We thank you for your wisdom. We thank you for your blessings. And we thank you for all these things. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right, Jan, if you would, roll call.
Brandon Elmore,
Present.
Bob Leahy,
Here.
Jason Brewer,
Here.
Tim Heiss.
Here.
Peter Cruz.
Here.
Okay, I trust everyone's had an opportunity to review the consent agenda. Do you have any questions or comments? Yes?
I do. I was concerned about the part that tells the points that I brought up during the first part of the meeting. There are 5 points, and the fifth one, there's an error. So it says, let's see here. It says note that I moved and that there was no second for the resolution and the motion died. I think that's was confusion because I didn't present any resolution, and so I said what I had said. I thought that's what everybody understood, was that I was going to send in, my comments, and maybe I didn't promise, but I did email eventually a few days later, sort of what a resolution might read as. People, we could vet that, and we were discussing it, and that's what I thought we'd agreed on. I listened again to the recording, and at 25:55, that's the minute, Jason Brewer said that a review would give people peace of mind, and you said that you were totally open to do the review. And on 27:06, Tim said that he explained why we need a review, and so I move now that we strike that sentence. It says no second received for this resolution, motion died. Just strike that from the minutes. We can leave it at that. I propose instead to put in city council members and Mayor Spence agreed to have Tito email his comments. Have them turned into a resolution format and brought to city council at the next meeting.
Okay.
Can we do that?
What do you think?
Well,
So that's a move.
council would have to, the rest of the council would have to agree that that's what
True.
what was stated.
With the
I
amendment.
don't know, I wasn't there.
Yeah, that's true. What? Yeah, I'm good either way. What's council say?
Just,
We had agreed that I would.
just purely from recollection, because what he said seemed as accurate. I can have to review it to be 100% sure, just for due diligence, but I don't doubt you, but that's basically the way I remember it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys.
Sounds good.
Okay. Yeah, then good.
Okay, so he moves to strike bullet number 5.
No, where it says no second received for the resolution in motion died. That we should strike. Yeah. Maybe we could leave it there, and then, but just so it's open that we could still consider it, and
Very good. Anything else? Okay. I would hereby entertain a motion for approval of the consent agenda
I'll move that we accept the consent agenda as
With-
Mm-hmm.
presented.
with the stated amendment.
Stated.
Yeah, very good. We have a first, we have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. We don't have any no presenters. Department reports. There should be a newsletter coming out, hopefully just before Christmas, which will be an update in terms of status that will go to all residents in terms of what's happening and what to look for 2024. Indiana Landmarks is going to be in town Wednesday. Several members from the state for Indiana Landmarks will be in town to tour Vision Corner. Yeah, and it's a Indiana Landmarks entity only. I mean, in other words, you got to be a member that evening. But rest assured, we're doing an open house first of 2024. When I say first quarter, scheduling goes. I imagine we'll shoot for February. We'll talk to late January, early February. We'll try to land on a date that's either evening or probably a Saturday, where obviously most folks have the opportunity to get and see. We might even do it a couple of times because it's obviously open to everybody, so we want everybody to see it. And that will be just an open house for Union City folks. Well, I can't just say Union City, folks, but we're going to make it, we're going to advertise it heavily to Union City. Because April 12th, everybody under the sun is going to get an invitation. So, and just to give you a heads up, we're looking to close down part of the street on April 12th, part of Columbia, for the ribbon cutting, because we're going to have folks in from the state Empower Schools, which is the entity that's been helping the school with their Next Gen grant, is going to have folks coming in from all over the nation, and they're going to be in for, I think, the previous day, and then also the ribbon cutting. And so that'd be a big to do. So we're looking forward to that, and you'll probably be sick and tired of me talking about that by the time April rolls around, because we're going to talk about it a lot to try to make sure the word is out there and that people are well aware of what's going on and why and how and all that. If you've not had a chance to go out and see Community Christmas, I heard a disturbing comment. No, it was at the last council meeting. Disturbing comment that somebody had made to the person that was talking, that I didn't know anything about Community Christmas. And I say disturbing in the fact that it's our 18th year, and it's sad that's nobody knows about it by now. So I'm gonna.
How could you not?
Yeah, I know. So it's heartbreaking, but. If you've not had a chance to go out and see it, or not had a chance to talk to anybody about it, I encourage you to do so. And because what's cool is that not-for-profits still work the gates. So there's all kinds of different entities that get a gate draw, when you give. And then the rest of the proceeds go straight back into the Community Christmas, which goes straight back into the lights and any other infrastructure in the park. So like the covered bridge, for example, was footed by Community Christmas. That's pretty awesome. So, department heads, Eric, do you have anything you want to speak to?
No, I have nothing special, except we have our city Christmas parties on Saturday. Love to see y'all there.
Awesome. Jan, did you have anything you want to?
Yes.
Okay.
At the Board of Works meeting this morning, we had a bid opening for the trash bids, and we only received one bid, and that was from Bestway. It is a 3% increase in 2024 over 2023, and then there's another 3% increase in 2025 over 2024. So I put that on your desk because it wasn't in the packets. So it should be on you all have a copy of it. But at any rate, the Board of Works recommends the council to approve the bid. So if I could have a motion for the approval.
Any questions before entertaining a motion?
I'll just make a comment real quick, Chad. I know the Bestway contract from a county solid waste management perspective. It's actually a very favorable contract,
Okay.
and we probably couldn't do much better on the open market. This is pretty good deal, and a 3% increase is not. In
Today's world.
It's probably less than what they could have asked for, honestly.
Yeah. All right. Well, I would entertain a motion then.
I move that we accept the Bestway contract as presented here.
We have first. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Bob. Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Jason Brewer,
Yes.
Tim Heiss,
Yes.
Peter Priest.
Yes.
Anything else then?
Yeah, and then they reviewed the water budget and the sewage budget, which usually, I don't think we've ever brought this to council before, but evidently the Board of Works recommended to council to approve these budgets. So there, I also put those on your desk. Water is basically an increase of 7% in the budget, and wastewater was 8.6% increase. I don't know, Steve, did you have anything, or Tim, to add?
The only thing that I think
needs to be added, why I thought it needed to come before the council is we're going to have to dive back into the conversation that nobody wants to talk about, and that's rate increases, especially for wastewater. We haven't had a rate increase since the plant construction, and it's time, according to the report we received from Baker Tilly. You guys all got a copy of that. So we need to probably revisit that sometime in the spring with Baker Tilly and start that process.
Anything else?
No, just one thing I added, Board of Works, that I had just for clarification here, when we did the rate increases before the project, Chad, you'll remember, Brian, it's in the audience, he will remember that one of the things we kind of discussed was we're looking at the rates once the project was completed, and where we stood at that point, and that's basically where we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we left the rate alone mainly just to get that project completed.
Yeah, correct. It's insane how fast the time has moved.
Yeah.
Anything else? If not, I would hereby entertain a motion.
I'll move we accept the proposed budget changes for water and wastewater and sewer budget as presented.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Jason Brewer,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Peter Freeze.
Yes.
All right. And then before we move on to council, there's a couple things I wanted to mention. This is our last scheduled council meeting for the year. Congrats to the four of you re-upping and being nominated, being elected. Brandon, this is your last. Thank you for serving.
Yeah.
Your last meeting. Thank you very much for serving. I thought you've done an outstanding job. Yeah, I tried to tell you even in private, that your thoughts and your comments and everything have been very, very methodical, very thought-provoking, very well thought out, and very well shared. And just thank you for representing. Really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
And then, I don't want to throw somebody under, but we do have the member who the party has elected to fill your spot, or is recommended. So, Mr. Gary Ellett will be filling your precinct role, and he's very kindly obliged, to the party's nomination. So, thank you. So, big time. Yeah. You'll be cursing us later, but thank you. No, I'm teasing. No, it's wonderful, seriously. And then with Board of Works, Mr. Bob Gentry. Bob has served the city for a number of years, and he served on the Board of Works the last 4. He's actually served in a myriad of capacities, including the Roanoke County Foundation. And so Bob had his last Board of Works meeting today in that capacity, so appreciate you serving. And it takes a village, it really does. And you've been very stern at times. You've been very compassionate all the time. You've been very passionate about your community 1,000% of the time. And I'll take that 8 days a week. So thank you. So really appreciate you. So with that being said, I will then turn it over to council members. Tito, if you would, anything?
Yeah, just a couple questions. Well, one question, but I wanted to do a shout out. Someone sent me an episode of a podcast that I was unaware of, and the podcast is called The UC Experience.
That's very cool, isn't it?
Union City, right?
Yeah.
And so when it's I clicked on the about, right, and it says Union City, Indiana is on the move. Let's go. So I'm not sure who does that, but
Mr. Jones, I always call him Coach.
okay.
He works for Union City. And then he usually has a collaborator in it, which is generally Superintendent Aaron Black, but it's been Mr. Loomis, I think, a couple times, filling in, or Mr. Adams. So,
Okay.
yeah, so those are the guys that do it.
Okay. So that was awesome, and also shout out to Karen Lloyd. She is the new executive director at Vision Corner, and she was featured, I think, in the last episode of that podcast. And so just wanted to shout out to her. You know how she speaks very knowledgeably about Union City and Vision Corner and everything. So looking forward to working with her.
Awesome.
The second thing, I know that last meeting we spoke about the sort of the new installation we're building to supply much faster water supply to the industrial park and on to cardinal ethanol. My question is just expressing the input from a concerned citizen. Do we have that kind of capacity to continuously provide that flow, that large a flow of water sustainably? And where's that water coming from anyway? So
Everything that we have done to date indicates that yes, we can meet that demand and more. And it comes from the aquifer. So I mean, I don't know what else I can tell you. I've not taken a trip to the aquifer to see exactly what the level is, but they tell me that it's good. So
okay.
But certainly part of our endeavor with the South Main Water Loop and the extension out there at the west end is to try to meet growing demand. So if we don't do that, we are going to be at a deficit at some point, not for our community, but for any hopes of growth, for industrial growth. So that's why that project still looms large.
I mean, is there a way to detect if all of a sudden, it's starting to look, I mean, are they projecting these things? Is somebody tracking the water levels? Like if it really flows that fast?
Being checked. We set the largest aquifer in the world. It's under the whole state of Ohio, to give you an idea.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
You should know that there are flow tests every year. Now, we don't have the results. We'll get them. I think Tim didn't. He said he expects to get the results sometime this week of the most recent one. But the gentleman who did the tests had no reason to raise the alarm.
Okay.
But if you're concerned about the additional water that will be needed by cardinal ethanol, that will have to be met with additional wells and additional filters, which are part of this grant request that the city will be applying for. That's it. You hear people talk about the South Loop.
Yes.
That is encompassed. But yes, but you're right. Everyone needs to worry about water. You can't drink oil. So that's a valid question, but we think we're okay. We're not yet in a drought condition.
Thank you so much. That's all.
Yeah, very good. Tim? Jason?
I do not.
Bob?
I don't have anything.
Brandon, for last time?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, thank you. Thank you to the voters of Union City. I mean, for the support, 4 years ago when, I was elected to the council. And, again, these past couple months in November when I was voted in, I couldn't take my name off the ballots at the time. I knew we were, in the process of buying a home at the time, and it just wasn't the right, time in terms of the election cycle to make that happen. But I appreciate the support. It sounds like between Bob Gentry and Chad and Tim, you guys are going to keep me busy with community activities. That's outside of the council purview, but good. You know, it's a good thing to be busy with community activities, and I'll stay connected to you guys in the community and other capacities. So you won't hear the last of me. So
Good. Well, that's good. I hope not.
but thank you all. Thank you. The council. When we came on board, 4 years ago, I know at least 3 of us, kind of came on with not knowing what to expect. Having been new to the council, that type of thing. I asked for advice as to what would be one thing that you could tell a new council member, and I won't share what others said, but for me, what I would say to Gary, is that and from my perspective is just always think of the fact that you're making decisions up here for people that you're representing. It's not yours. It's not your decision. It's not your choice. It's not you personally. It's a representative vote, and always keep that in mind. And I've tried to kind of interject that in things that I've said at different times and what have you throughout council meetings, just to kind of keep that on the forefront of people's minds. But always keep that in the decisions that you make, the way that you're thinking, because sometimes it may go counter to what you personally believe, but that it would be representative of those in your community, and that's sometimes difficult to do. But that would be one thing that I would put forth, and I would. Council embrace, Gary here, helping him get on his feet, that type of thing. And I think for a good, solid transition, that's, I think, important as well. So anything I can do for you, Gary, would be, I'd be more than happy to help you along the way too. And I would lean on heavily, some of the more experienced council members and Mayor Spence and Steve as well. So. That's all I got.
No, that's wonderful. No, appreciate that. Very well said.
Yeah.
Very, very well said.
Good job.
And speaking of representation, we do have, I reached out to Mr. Loomis and Mr. Adams regarding representation from the school, and he does have 2 individuals that are going to tag team it. So I'm looking to have those at our next council meeting. Well, one of them will be at our next council meeting. And in fact, I'll do a swearing in for them just to, so because I want them to know what they're doing is very important in representing their school in front of their community. So we will announce them. Marisol and Wilson are their first names, and so delighted that they're interested. So and my apologies to Marisol already if I've mispronounced her name, because it's only been email correspondence. I've not heard anybody get to pronounce it for me. So
Sounds about it.
So with that being said, Steve, do you have anything?
Yeah, we briefly discussed this again today at the Board of Works. If you guys remember back to the last meeting, we proposed the South Water Loop paperwork process, so to speak. It included everything but the easement acquisition. In additional conversations after our last meeting with RQAW, our funding opportunity for this project is SRLF. It opens up in July, and again, what this is typically all of these documents are created as part of the grant award, and with this one, we're having to do the creation prior to. Our engineer is proposing that we just look at task order 1, which is creating the PER now, and the rest of the documentation after we are awarded in July or August, because that will take about 200 days off the going to work timeline. So I don't know what council's thoughts are on that, but creating the PER for this project is roughly $65,000 according to their proposal. But that's a lot easier to chunk to bite than the $643,000 for the entire set of paperwork. So ball's in your court. I think that's a good thing to get started because Cardinal Ethanol is going to be pushing.
So for the uninitiated, what is PER, please?
Preliminary engineering report, that's the minimum level of documentation that we have to apply for funding.
Without that, no chance of getting hurt.
Without that, we don't know anything
We
theoretically.
don't know anything, and then it delays the whole process. Like I say, sets us back.
And we can wait, we can apply for funding and do the PER and everything after we get funded and take a stab at it. We have estimates for what this project's going to cost, but we're going to be behind the 8 ball with getting the project moving.
Yeah, 2025 is the date they've given us, is it not?
Spring of 2025, they're anticipating a need for about 1.7, 1.8 million gallons a day.
Roughly 16, 17 months away, which, depending on everybody's narrative, may seem like a lot, may seem like nothing. But in today's world, to me, the way that lifetime has been going, that's going to be tomorrow.
And how much are they doing today? Like
They've hit those numbers now, but they're sporadic. So on a typical usage day, I would say they're 1 to 1.3
million gallons of water.
per day.
Yes.
about 25% increase.
Thoughts, questions, comments from council?
And again, just to be clear, we can hit those numbers theoretically, but we don't want to put our pumps and our filters and we don't want to put our equipment in that kind of stress. So what we're needing is more volumes of water. We're needing the ability to process more raw water. That's what we're needing. We need more filter capacity. We need more water to put through the filters to hit those numbers for growth and development.
And let me just add, sort of for public, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, right? Like they pay for every gallon of water that they get, so that we can provide more of it more quickly, then they're going to be paying for it more and more quickly as well.
Yeah. That is correct.
And if we don't supply the demand, if we don't meet their demand, they will use other means to meet that demand. Such could be creating their own well system and so forth. So that just means that much revenue that we lose out on ultimately in the long run.
And in the process, we are also creating capacity to supply any new operations that want to set up in our industrial park.
Correct.
Yes.
Which is one of there's always a core from Dan Baker with Aaron County United, when we get interested parties in the area, potential businesses coming in, corporation, that's always on one of the first main questions they have is our capacity. Because they need to know that the infrastructure's there and the needs are going to be met before they would be serious about coming in.
So it's an investment in growth potential.
I assume we can make this a 2024 expenditure.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be the way they've stepped it out, and I think they're pliable enough to do it however we want. But they've stepped it out in 3 payments, a little over $21,000 each. But you tell me what you want me to tell them, and that's what we'll tell them.
Do we have a motion on the floor?
I'll move that we move forward with
Task order 1, it's the PER.
yeah.
I'll second.
Janet, if you would roll call vote.
Brandon Allen,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Brewer,
Yes.
and Knight.
Yes.
David Freeze.
Yes.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right. We have no old business. Under new business, we have redevelopment commission committee nominations.
So I would like to nominate a couple, Luciano Vanda and Brandon Elmore.
All right.
I'd like to nominate a couple.
Okay.
Scott Byram
Okay.
and Ron Pruitt.
Any others? All right. We have a first. Well, we have two nominations on the floor, two different nominations on the floor, four different individuals. Do we have a second for anybody?
I'll second Luciano Banda and Brandon Elmore.
Okay. This is new territory for me. We have a previous mayor in the audience that we're blessed to have here. Do you recall any situation like this? Do we?
You just take the two that have been seconded.
Seconded, okay.
And you thought you were going.
Someone that served two more terms than I have. Okay, so we have a first and second for Luciano Banda and Brandon Elmore. Janet, I guess if we would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
I'll abstain since my
Bob Lay.
Yes.
Jason Brewer,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
All right.
I assume we were voting on both at that point.
Yeah.
At
Those
once.
individuals.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I said we have a motion for
For
Luciano.
both. Okay.
Second.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
This one here, I'll split it out.
Nepotism forms. We have,
Yeah, those forms are presented, they should have been in your packet.
correct?
They've all the elected officials votes over the past year,
last week.
saying, that they have not violated, verifying that they have not violated any of the, Indiana code on nepotism. So those have been presented in your packet, so they're just going to be accepted by council.
We've all had a chance to review those.
That's all
Can
the
we-
council members.
Correct. Myself,
Okay.
Amy's is in there because she's partial year.
Judge Wilcox. So, yep. Do you have an acceptance by anybody willing to?
I'll move we accept the nepotism forms as presented.
We have a first, we have a second.
I'll second.
Jan, if you would.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Lay.
Yes.
Jason
Yes.
Brewer. Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
Okay, so who was that, Brandon and?
Tim.
Tim.
Tim and then
Brandon second.
I think it was Bob.
Or was it Bob?
Tim and Bob.
It wasn't me.
Brandon.
Oh, was it you, Brendan? Sorry.
Okay,
Brandon
my ears
abstained.
aren't doing very good.
Oh,
I thought it was
yeah,
Brandon.
sorry. Finally, Resolution 2023-R-07 as procedure following the public hearing for additional appropriations. That is basically the resolution, as you see presented, outlines all of the appropriations specifically as they were presented in the public hearing. And there have been no stated changes or amendments. So I would hereby entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move we approve resolution 2023-R-07, additional appropriations resolution by title only.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Jan, one last time.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Lay.
Yes.
Jason Brewer.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Frias.
Yes.
All right. Visitors wishing to address the board, please stand, state your name, address, and nature of business. Yes.
Brian Conklin, 920 West State Route 28. It's kind of nice to sit on this side of this convention. I got a few calls in regard to, and I think you've already passed it, and it's an energy savings program. I don't even know what the company's name is, but we were burned once by a company that presented a really great program for a lot less money than what this is. And James, do you know offhand what our utility usage is for the, well, I know your first payment is coming up in January, which is 1/4 of what you have money in the bank on, for $573,000.
For 2025, not 2024.
2024. This coming January, you owe $573,000. That was not available when you all voted, and you were supposed to get 30 days to consider it and then vote whether to accept it and have it signed.
So you're spending over almost $600,000 before any work is being done. That I question. I'm a little leery when it comes to these energy savings companies, and that's the company. It's a different company, but sometimes they deal in smoke and mirrors. So that's the reason why I asked him regarding what our utility costs are per month, because in my recollection, it was not near the $573,000, nor the total payment you're going to pay for 15 years is a total $11 million. Will you save $11 million in those 15 years?
That's what we've been presented, yes.
How will they know did they give you a proposal plan in regards to what the work's going to be done?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So it's going to be soft start motors, which a lot of that's been done already, insulation, better windows, solar panels. So, I mean, I just find it hard to believe that our utility usage is that high. And at the end of 15 years, you got to come up with a balloon payment of $3 million. How is this all being budgeted it's not been budgeted? It's not been budgeted.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not been budgeted.
No, it has been. What?
Well, I guess by the savings that they're supposed to receive.
But you initially, you have zero savings and you got to pay almost $600,000.
We don't make any payment until the project is complete. And I don't know
And
what you're
I don't
looking
understand
at.
this form, because this says 2024, and that's not
Yeah,
what we've signed.
That's not.
That was what council was presenting.
That's what it says.
I know, but that's not what we signed. We don't make a payment until 2025.
It's
I mean, not that changes the numbers. The numbers stay the same.
It's not even 2025. It's once the project is completed, then the payment would start that next year. And the build time on the project is 16 to 18 months. So
Roughly does it encompass? I mean, because
I'll send it to
there
you.
was a company that did the work for the school, and an electrical contractor told me they could have done the same work without having a contract for an energy savings program. And I guess this is probably, I'm way too late because you've already voted to accept it. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just so leery of, because this is, I mean, when you guys first took office, a lot of you had to pay money for a lawsuit that we were in as well. And it pisses me off that we had to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
I agree.
and that was a project that was brought to us by our school system.
Mm-hmm.
And if I sound like I'm a little nervous, it's just because as an example, I know that it sounds like they're going to put solar panels on roofs. I was looking at that myself, and the company said, you don't put solar panels on roofs anymore. You put them outside an open field,
Right.
to be able to articulate them and whatever else.
That's what they presented.
There's no panels going on any of our roofs.
Okay. And he said also within 15 or in 5 years, the way that the mine are exchangeable, because the technology is changing that rapidly in solar panels.
Mm-hmm.
So the investment you make now, 5 years from now, it's going to change.
It doesn't render the current panels useless. It's just the technology changes.
In the panel itself.
Right.
So I just I mean, so council, you've all approved for the next 15 years for multiple councils past you to spend roughly $11 million.
I'll clarify, I didn't approve.
Okay.
I say I didn't approve it either.
So three of you.
We pre-approved maybe.
And what, may I ask what basis, Tito, why did you vote to do that? To spend beyond your term, $11 million?
I considered that there are a number of our infrastructure, roofs, water heaters, all those things that are
Maintenance
near
items?
the end of their lives
Maintenance
that
items?
needed to be. I don't know if that term applies. I don't know what that term means. That need to be replaced, and so that cost. My understanding is that the expenditure to get all of those things replaced and repaired as necessary is equivalent to what the cost of this contract is.
But you're saying that as roads and whatever else, that it's a maintenance item for that department to budget for years to come. You're gonna go ahead and take care of it now, but in 15 years, you're gonna have to take care of it again because the rough expectancy is maybe 15 or 20 years.
There was going to be a cost. Yes, but there's going to be a cost savings in terms of the energy because we get solar panels that we are able to use to cover all of those costs that we've been incurring on an ongoing basis. And we would probably have also an extra amount that we could sell back to the grid.
We've had
You can't sell back to the grid.
We've had 1.6 million in tax credits that are coming away. That
The tax
this is
credit, where you're a municipality. You don't-
payment coming. Well, not tax credit. Payment coming back to us. That this was budgeted or this was figured outside of that figure, outside of the 1.6 million. So
Is that off the $11 million that's for the total project cost, or
that's outside of that completely.
so instead of 11 million, it's just
My understanding,
9.5.
my understanding that 1.6 million, it can only be used for interest. By the application that was in the packet that you sent us, it can only be used for interest. So I don't know how they're gonna dole it out. Are they gonna give it to us in a lump sum that we can't spend? Or are they gonna give it to us, dole it out as we pay interest?
That's
That's one of the questions I had. So, and the other thing that I'll add is that the energy savings are based on the energy usage, but it doesn't have anything to do with the infrastructure work such as the roof, replacing a roof, for example. There might be some energy savings, but they're not guaranteeing that we're going to neutralize the way that reads. They're not guaranteeing that we neutralize that whole amount. And they're not guaranteeing we neutralize the interest. So you get 1.6 back against the $4 million in interest. Now, keep in mind, there's a balloon payment at the end of this thing, $2.8 million.
It's almost
that
3, yeah.
We're going to have to refinance because we're not going to have that money. So there's another 5 years that you're going to pay interest. So you might as well figure $5 million in interest. Now you know why I voted against it.
And that's what I'm saying, looking back at and I'll say it was a mistake that listened to two outside entities to make this proposal for the wind turbines. And we ended up getting prototypes. Unfortunately, the judge didn't see it our way and we had to pay. And did they bring references? Anybody out of Indiana? Did you talk to the Indiana references or
The Ohio references.
Ohio references? And how well did they do?
Everybody we've spoke to has been very pleased with the outcomes.
Okay, I just was really leery, and that's the reason why I'm probably after the fact. But going back and spending money for when it's beyond your term, and like Tim says, you got a $3 million balloon payment at the end. you're 15 years from now, whoever's sitting in these seats will have to figure out how they're gonna cover that, so. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Bob Gentry, you all know me. I wanted to talk about the same thing. And I sent you all an email telling you how I felt about this. And my understanding when it was discussed, and I thought the vote was to go forward, and when they got the contract, then there would be another vote once you saw what it was going to cost and what it said. That contract also says that the lessor can sell it without your permission. So you could wind up paying to the XYZ company, which I don't like contracts like that. But you're paying $4 million worth of interest. You could do everything in that for less than $4 million over a period of 10, 12 years. I don't see the advantage in having them do it when you've got local contractors that could bid on these, and if you stretched it out, now like the roof, you gotta do that quick. But you could do the other things on a year-by-year basis, pay for it, and save yourself a lot of money. And to me, that is paying more attention to your taxpayer dollars. And I say that as a taxpayer. I mean, we're paying a bunch of property tax, and as probably most of the people in this room are. And that's something you're all going to hear about this. I mean, it is not going to go down well with the people paying the taxes, especially when they see that you're paying. Now, like I say, all I know is what that, and Chad, you said, oh, this is not doing it. You know, but that's a perfect example. That was in the contract that they sent you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what was signed. I was under the impression, from what I heard at that meeting when you discussed it, that you would have 30 days and you could come back and say, no, we've changed our mind, we don't want this. Am I wrong? Did I not hear that?
I heard the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you heard that also.
I'm pretty sure we were all under that
Yeah,
impression.
okay, I rest my case. I'm asking you to go back and tell them no.
Was it reviewed by
Ryan.
your local, Ryan?
Yep.
And
And
he didn't tell you that there's a clause in there where they can sell the contract? Pardon me. Sorry.
So we will review.
your time's ticking because you got less than 30 days now.
Mm-hmm.
When did we sign? When did the city sign that contract?
Oh, it's been less than a week, has it not?
About that.
Yeah.
So I listened to it again this morning, and the 30 days is after signing the contract. We have an escape clause in the contract that tells us that within 30 days, if the financing doesn't work out or we don't have a reasonable way of financing, we can bail out, but we have 30 days for that. Mm-hmm. Since we only signed it last week, there's still that margin to have maybe a second or third look. Whereas, can we get a copy of that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been sent to everybody.
Oh.
You guys have a copy.
I would suggest a motion to put a pause on it to answer your question, to see if you actually, like I said, these outside companies, they're the ones making the money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what,
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, they wouldn't do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything in it for them.
If we're gonna, is this?
So I
I
mean,
mean, what's the consensus then? I mean, like I say, I was a no vote. I keep saying that, but I was a no vote. So you know where I'm at. But the question then is where the rest of the council is moving forward, and then if the council were to want to do something to look at this, my suggestion is to have our legal counsel review this and see where we stand as far as what we're into in terms of the legalities of stepping away from it, as far as what the costs are, weigh out where we stand, so we know eyes wide open. If we have to call a special meeting, we can call a special meeting.
I agree with you.
So
It's worth a second look.
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
Yeah.
that's like I say, I'm you know where I'm at. So what I say doesn't make a hell of a lot of difference.
So, but I don't know if we can move to. I understand we'd like a halt, but if there's a contract signed, it's more about. My understanding was that there will be a 30 days to bail out. So let's get to looking at it immediately, and if we need to bail out, we do. If we not,
It's about the time frame of our next meeting, around the 8th.
well, you need to move before
Around
then.
30 days.
We need to.
Somewhere in there.
How about before Christmas?
Yeah, we call before Christmas.
Well, here's the question you can ask, if my opinion would be, if you want to take a pause, immediately contact Ryan, say, Ryan, put it on hold, tell him to stop the contract if you have a 30-day out. Revisit your conversations and go through, do we want to move forward with this, and then reenact the contract if that's what you want to do.
Is that doable?
And that saves you from having a special meeting or anything like that. But I think, I don't live in the city, but I do have rental properties here. I'd like to see the actual usage of our utilities. Because if you're talking about water and wastewater, those both own their own, they have their own ratepayers, which is outside the taxes and stuff. And it's just.
You're only really talking about electric and gas. Of course, that's going to be a big savings. But, y'all need to do this, but you need to do it, I think, budget-wise. You can put that roof on for a lot less than $573,000. And local contractors can put your solar panels up for, I'm guessing, again, less than one payment. These are great things. Monty Poling and I put LED lights in the community room years ago. I can remember standing, that's when I could get on ladders.
No, that was me, it wasn't mine.
No, I was on that damn ladder. But as I say, these are things that can be done. They make sense. I'm not suggesting that they gave you a bad idea.
Right.
Well,
But all these lights, the LEDs, and we're doing that in our buildings. We don't have any fluorescent lights anymore. They're all LEDs. My son and I did all of them. And y'all can do that. We got electricians on the payroll. You can bring them in here and replace all these. Think about this. You guys are spending taxpayer dollars. You need to spend them like they were coming out of your own pocket.
When I put my solar panels up, they took a look at my 12-month usage, and they said, this is what it's gonna be for 100%, this is gonna be what it's gonna be for 70%. And that was including, over 8 years, a increase of what the estimated rate increase is gonna be on electric. And then it's set up, they're expandable. So as you add on or whatever else to your buildings, or as technology changes, everything's, So I opted for the 70% savings. And they're spot on. They're at 71 or 72% of what I save per month on my electric bills. So, and if I could convince my wife she doesn't need to keep it on 62 in the summertime, I'd save a lot more.
I'll add that I think I didn't go back and check records or check previous meetings from this, but I believe in my memory that I remember that when ABM made the initial presentation as far as their initial overview, which would have been like last spring, I think, something like that. of where, they just did their initial assessment. And this is where we can look. And then we agreed to contract them to present a comprehensive plan.
Correct.
And there's a dollar amount, and I can't recall the dollar amount. I didn't go look it up. There's a dollar amount that we had to accept, that we would pay if we didn't accept their proposal.
Correct.
Now, at the same time, part of that, I believe, which is probably legal, and like I say, this is just purely off the top of my head memory, that they also stated that once we pay, if we did that and we didn't accept it, that proposal was still our property.
Correct.
That their proposal was still our property.
You remember that,
They're
right?
probably bound by law on
Right.
that. That's the reason why
Right.
they're doing it. So that's just, I don't recall what that amount was that they presented at that point, and have to go back through the minutes and check and see what that amount was. But that in and of itself, now whether there's what other penalty we're going to have to pay otherwise to step away from that, that's why I suggest that we counsel in on that and look at where we stand.
Very good. That's what we'll do then. Like I said, this has been, for what it's worth, like you said, spring, this is, I'm not going to call you out, but in all fairness, you've been in this seat before. I would appreciate you coming up sooner, because we've been at this since the spring.
Yeah.
This has been, in fact, Steve has set up meetings for people to come in and meet with them, all the council. And so we've been at this for now over 6 months. And
I didn't know anything about it until the contract came out with the package that went to the council table. I had no idea of the cost. What they originally said was that they would do the study for free, and it would be yours. And I think their study was good. I'm not suggesting that these were bad ideas.
Right.
I'm simply saying that once I looked at that and realized that, we're spending all this money over a period of time, we can do that out of regular income. Property taxes go up, our tax base goes up. Too many years on the Board of Works, too many years coming to these meetings and listening. But, you all know I keep plumbing for better wages and stuff for our employees. But equipment, we talked about a dump truck. That's a $90,000 investment. I'd rather, if you're going to spend $100,000, spend it on a dump truck with that blade and the distribution for winter use. That's something we really need now. But I better shut up.
no, you're good. No. That's what we'll do. And if we have to call a special meeting, look for that in the next 8 working days.
Okay.
So, any other visitors wishing to address council? All right, the date of next city council meeting will be Monday, January 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m. The date of public works meeting will be January 8th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. I would hereby entertain a motion for approval, or adjournment.
So moved.
We have first, we have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.